there, welcome back. Glad to have you back on Village in Motion this Thursday, October 25th. Excuse me, it's Tuesday. I keep on wanting to make the week a little bit shorter, get to the weekend. But it's Tuesday, October 25th. And at this point, we have Lynn Keefe, who is the Director of General Services, and she's got some updates to tell us about. And we're so glad that you're with us this morning, Lynn.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good. What's happening in General Services, or I should say outside of General Services?
Well, there are just a few things going on. You may have noticed a little activity perhaps around the community. Yeah. Probably, well, I'll start with one. For residents in Parkview and Walden Court, they received a flyer that talked about some perhaps interruption to their hot water today and tomorrow. Oh. And while they started early, that work has been suspended, so they should not anticipate any further interruptions today or tomorrow.
So they can go ahead and take the showers now.
They're good to go. We will have some work commencing at some point next week, and we'll be getting communication out later today to talk about that. This is a part of the replacement of some of the residential boilers, and so there will be some interruption, and we'll give you plenty of advance notice and how to prepare for that. So more information to come for next week's work.
You're going to be replacing a lot of the boilers on campus, is that right? Is this the first of that series?
Well, it's a continuation of, but these are the residential boilers. We're also finishing up the boiler room makeover in Village Square, which is the last of the community building replacements.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's going well?
It's going very well. I hope we don't jinx that, but they're nearing completion there. So.
Good. All right.
So probably one of the other biggest things going on around campus, or at least warrants a great deal of discussion, is the work over at the KL&M, the resident parking deck near Village Square. And that work, I would just say, folks have said, oh, why did we have to close it all? It is structural in nature, and so it did require a lengthy closure of the deck, because in the nature of the work, it can't have residents, you know, on and off the deck. It is moving along as expeditiously as possible. We are very grateful to everyone who accommodated being moved temporarily. I know they were putting some information up on the screen about the color codes and the parking, and parking is tight. So just a few reminders that those of you who have temporary parking, those are the large yellow squares. The red is, of course, reserved for resident parking. The employees have only one place to park, and that is the employee deck. Yes. And I've heard a few folks say, well, I'll take a space over there. I assure you that lot fills up by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So employees who get there and there's no parking do park outside of the gates and walk in or jump on the shuttle. We are not asking residents to park outside the gate. Right. While there may not be as much available resident parking as there was previously, or in the location you wish, there is resident parking available. We do ask, though, that residents park in resident lots. There are occasions where a resident may utilize a visitor space, but we hope that they minimize that, because what happens is visitors come, they can only park in green spaces. Residents can park in resident lots, but visitors cannot. So we want to keep those available. And also a reminder, you know, our handicap spaces are not able to be time limited. So just, you know, as part of living in the community, if you have a placard that allows you to park in handicap, absolutely you can park there. But we just ask that folks utilize it for the time that it's necessary and not longer, so that it's available to others to use.
So it doesn't become their permanent
That's
parking
correct.
place.
That's correct. It should not be their permanent.
Question in regards to all of this about parking. I live in Maple Creek, which is where the deck is attached to, and my wife and I have had 2 parking spaces there. With what appears to be the near completion of the very top deck, which is the K,
K,
yeah, which is the open area. It appears that they're moving along exceptionally well, and that they almost appear to be finished with that part of. Are you considering opening that for parking when that is finished on the top?
So that's a great question, and while we would love to be able to do that, unfortunately, that's not possible. It's something, you know, we've had the engineers in the county come out to inspect at periodic points. And while the work on that level is done, there's still impact to what's below. And so it is not allowed to have parking. So I'm glad you brought that out, because by the end of this month, we anticipate, what they've told us is that the work on the top 2 levels will be, for those who are looking upon it, we'll see that it looks complete, and we know folks are going to say, oh, can I park there? And unfortunately, the answer is no. They'll still be working below. Believe me, that's a question we ask. So
I would think so. And I was thinking, you know, it would be very nice to be able to open those parking spaces up.
Yes, yes, we would love that, but no, unfortunately, that's just not possible.
Doesn't happen.
No,
Okay,
no,
all right.
Safety first.
Yes, but we're still looking at a completion date for the entire deck of Christmas.
That is the goal. We hope that it will be sooner, but that is our worst case scenario. As soon as we know that it could be sooner, we will communicate that out.
Okay.
So, you know, a couple other things going on. One, just a brief point, Decade Refresh is still continuing. There was a little rumor for a while that it was suspended or wasn't happening. It is continuing. But we are looking at renaming it.
Yes.
Because it's confusing. When you hear Decade Refresh, it implies that, well, when I hit 10 years, I'm eligible. And the reality is we started with the residents who had been here the longest, committed to completing 50 a year, although we move through typically 2 to 3 times that many folks. So look for a refresh of information out there, perhaps a new title and some information out there about it. But if you have questions, you can always call General Services.
Okay.
So a couple other projects. One, eagerly anticipated windows. We've had folks out measuring, and right now project management along with the installer and the company are working together to put together their plan and how to attack the project for minimal impact to resident efficiency, and how we accommodate that. So probably when I'm on here next month, if not sooner, we'll do a special segment and some information to those residents as to what to expect.
Very good.
Hopefully folks have taken a look at the new floors in the elevators.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Those should have been completed by now in independent living. Much easier to take care of and much more attractive. So. Crosswalk painting was redone throughout the campus. That was a comment we had heard. There's still some concrete repair, and that is being scheduled so as to minimize impact to parking, because that's a little tight right now, you may have heard. The signage replacement for Neighborhood 2 is being finalized, and once we have more detail about implementation, we'll talk about that. Doors for Neighborhood 1, I talked about that last time. So we were ready to install and identified an error on the part of the vendor who produced the doors. So at their cost, no cost to Greenspring, they are replacing those. And so it won't be before Thanksgiving. We may be able to squeeze it in between the holidays. We'll have minimal impact to residents, and we'll give you dates when we have them. We don't want to estimate and then disappoint. So.
In regards to that, I noticed there's a new door in, trying to think of the name of the areas in the hallway.
So that's just one door in that area. We actually took out one of the doors that's being replaced and sent to the vendor to make sure that everything, we didn't want to leave anything to chance, So it's just that one door. And what they're being replaced with is what is in every other resident building throughout campus. It's a raised 6-panel steel door.
Okay. And that door will be painted eventually.
Yes, and it will complement the frame, the existing frames.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Other things?
You know, I think those are the biggies, what I have on my list. I would just remind folks to we've got a lot of movement on campus, lots of vehicles and people. Just proceed with caution on the streets and just be careful out there.
Okay. As a driver on campus, I would like to encourage people, don't walk in the street. I mean, we have sidewalks, and you still see people walking in the street, and I think it's extremely dangerous.
Yes, we want to maintain a safe place, maintain the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, Please don't park in the circles in front of the community buildings. And I know what I hear often is, it's just for a minute.
Yes.
But it's that minute that fire EMS may need to respond, and they're going to move your vehicle.
Good, good. Well, thank you for updating us. Appreciate all the information. And folks, if you have a question, always call General Services and ask. Right?
Absolutely.
All right, sounds good. Don't run away, folks. We have a roll-in now in regards to Staff Appreciation Fund.